Hello, and a welcome to another session of College Success Skills with me, Mr. Fowler. I am so happy to meet with you again, and I apologize about Thursday's class. It was more critical to me that I get caught up on the responses to your discussion questions. So I took some time to do that, and I thought, what could I do that was in tandem with what we had recently been discussing? So I found that video that I shared, that TED Talk about how technology and students can interface. And I thought that material was a little bit more relevant than the text material from our edition. Because if you look at the 4th edition, which is a fine text, it still is a little bit dated with a copyright date of 2014. That's 6 years ago. In terms of technology specifically, I think sometimes it might be better to go with the most up-to-date and pertinent, most relevant information. So I hope that you found that discussion to be interesting. In addition to reviewing for this next set of quiz questions, or reviewing for chapter 15, I should say. We're going to talk about quizzes in just a couple of seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and share for today. I'm going to stop my video feed and do a slideshow from the beginning, from the current slide. So for today's meeting, session number 24, we are going to engage in a little bit of a preview / review, which should only take up to about 5 minutes of our time. Quickly reviewing the content from chapter 15, using technology to study more effectively. Then I'm going to take another 25 minutes out of your time just to engage in a little preview of the final essay assignment for the semester, the reflection essay. And then I'll conclude with some quick reminders. Specifically, I will give you a reminder right now. Many of you still have to complete quiz 6. So I know on the class website it says, get ready for the next quiz over chapters 12, 13, and 14. But in point of fact, many of you have not yet completed chapter 6 or the quiz 6 over chapter 11. So you should prioritize that before you delve into another quiz this week. Okay, so using technology to learn, just a little review of College Success Skills, chapter 15. And I'll try to make this as brief as possible. Remember that we introduced some distinct study questions. So we wanted to ask ourselves how to keep track and pay attention to the answers for questions like, how can technology be used in college courses? What are the benefits and drawbacks to online learning? And how can technology be used in reading and studying? Well, remember that technology in college classes is fairly, especially right now in COVID-19 conditions, is fairly prolific. Anything from class presentations to computerized notes or modules and supplements that might be offered by a textbook company or by your instructor could all be available and accessed online. In point of fact, right now everything is delivered online vis-a-vis technology. That includes course management systems like Desire to Learn or Canvas or even eCollege. By the way, Blackboard is a form of Canvas. Canvas is the company that actually owns Blackboard, so that's the same thing. And then, of course, if you wanted to give a group presentation or use technology to meet in study groups, as many of you suggested in your weekly response questions, that would be a completely appropriate use of technology in terms of enhancing your study skills and the processes by which you learn. Of course, online courses aren't too shocking for any of us anymore, or even that foreign of an idea. Online courses are very effective for colleges and for students because they allow colleges to serve a greater population who might not otherwise be able to attend face-to-face or on-campus traditional classroom courses. They're quite convenient for scheduling, especially for someone who has young children or a demanding or demanding job or profession that has unconventional hours. By taking an online course, you can set your own individual schedule. And there is some variety in online coursework, so much as in the fact that there are 3 different types of online courses. The first type is just like this one, asynchronous. It's also the most common. Essentially, classes don't meet at a particular time or day, and students are allowed to learn at their own pace. When it comes to traditional features of a class, such as asking questions, taking tests, or turning in assignments, well, most of these functions are handled online. And the key benefit to an asynchronous course is that it's much more flexible in nature. By contrast, a synchronous course features many of the same design principles as a face-to-face class. It's just preferential when distance or time or some other condition makes it impossible, as in the case of a pandemic outbreak, to meet face-to-face. There's usually a specific time or day associated with a synchronous course. And there's typically more interaction because you get a chance to talk with your instructor or via Skype, Zoom, Google Hangout, or other sort of chat function. However, the assignments and the exams for a synchronous course are still asynchronous in terms of their delivery. So those parts are still online and are usually, again, this is a benefit, a little bit more flexible in terms of when materials are turned in. One of the things I've discovered is that I thought I was being original, unique, or helpful by telling students that they could have until Friday, the end of the week, to complete particular deadlines. I think all teachers did that. And so consequently, the due dates and response times are not as staggered as they once were. So I think maybe now everything is due on Friday. So some students have said it's kind of like you never have a weekend or you don't ever have a time off. And that's the antithesis of what I know I was planning for. So maybe that part of the discussion deserves a second look. In any event, let's move on to the third type. Hybrid courses where feature more than one format. And as you can see over here on the left, this visual kind of clarifies things right away. You usually meet a certain set of times face-to-face, typically at least once in the beginning and once at midterm and once in the final months. There may be throughout the semester punctuated check-in times or lab opportunities depending on the nature of the course itself, where you can come in and have some face-to-face discussion with other students and the professor or seek clarification on assignments. However, the majority of the time in the semester is spent online. So with this blended learning system, which many school systems, secondary, meaning junior high and high school systems have adopted in the face of COVID-19, you would have at least some interaction with instructors and peers in addition to the online content that is delivered. It is, as with the previous 2 versions, very flexible and, like I said, on the rise. My nephews and nieces, for example, are students in Meridian District 223. And they currently at least as of this recording, we're meeting either on a Monday, Tuesday schedule or a Thursday, Friday schedule. So if you were, they divided the alphabet, and if you were A through M, you met Mondays and Tuesdays. And if you were N to Z, you met Thursdays and Fridays, and Wednesdays were reserved for classroom and school cleaning. Even given these measures, I believe I just heard a report that the COVID numbers were going up. So hybrid courses were on the rise before COVID-19, and they may go on the rise again as we transition out of COVID-19 times. So you might see more hybrid learning at colleges and schools in the months leading into the end of the pandemic, or whenever that vaccine is able to be delivered. So there may be a cautious return to schools using hybrid style courses. And then once the pandemic is under control, we will see perhaps a little bit more of the traditional schooling systems returning to functionality. However, it's important to realize that no matter what happens after this point, there will be a change. So alternative assignments for students who have chronic illnesses, their delivery system will be improved through hybrid and online learning. Online learning courses in general will probably go up in use, because I suspect that there will be a greater demand now that everybody has been forced to take an online class. There are going to be some students who like it. So those students are going to probably take as many online courses as they can from this point on. So that will reduce the amount of students in class anyway, and increase the amount of online classes. Snow days are definitely a thing of the past. There will be no more snow days. Any day that is deemed even remotely at risk or dangerous for students traveling to and from school will be shifted to online or remote learning for that day in order to make up for any potentially missed opportunities. And teachers will probably be asked to create 2 to 3 days of emergency hybrid coursework for each of their classes. And this is a little bit of a bummer for me, because I used to pick up the occasional course, even at Kishwaukee College. If somebody could leave a lesson plan in advance and have their materials prepped, I could step into a course and teach it for at least a single or perhaps even a couple of sessions. There's no reason for that now. Everything will just shift to an online format. So probably with a pre-recorded lesson like the one you're watching now. So that's done for me as well. That's a revenue stream that's pretty much going to be closed off, I would imagine. But nevertheless, these online courses will change things, even if we do get back to face-to-face education, which I think will be wonderful. There will be a change. And as we go further into the future, because of this technology and because of the exposure that we've had to this way of methodology of learning, there will be some questions that will be asked, such as what is the discussion surrounding how much it costs for the physical infrastructure of maintenance for a building and classrooms, and the size and scale of a college classroom and environment, as opposed to how many people can be reached through online learning. So those are all questions we'll have to wrestle with and think about as we move forward into the new Roaring 20s. Because if any other time is going to be roaring after this one. 2020 has been a busy, quick year with a whole lot of strangeness going on. And so I speculate that we're in another set of roaring 20s, but we shall see. When it comes to the main thrust of this chapter, though, the emphasis is on using technology to study. And there are so many ways, as you all identified quite well in your responses to the weekly discussion questions, of how to use technology to study. Specifically, you can organize and develop your notes more critically and more carefully. You can create maps and charts. You can use virtual study groups to reach out to other students, and you can conduct research that much more quickly and efficiently using technology. Note-taking specifically was a big hint that many of you grabbed a hold of for your responses for last week. And of course, there are several benefits to note-taking online, including being able to more easily reorganize your notes at a later date, access study guides, and complete and create your own study guides for various chapters and sections of texts. You can compare notes with your fellow students more easily, and you can also use professors' notes if they're available and print them out in advance. If you then combine your professor's notes with your own notes that you take during a lecture, you can create what are called parallel notes, hearkening back to a technique that was introduced in chapter 10. Okay, that's pretty much it for our review of chapter 15. Now, if you have other questions or concerns about chapter 15, do not hesitate to reach out and contact me. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Now, as per the reflection essay, this will be our final assignment, our final essay assignment for the semester. Do note, though, that we still have quizzes 7 and 8 to complete before the end of the semester. So quiz 7 will be over the 3 chapters, 12, 13, and 14, that had to deal with the social sciences, the humanities, and mathematics and science. So those 3 are kind of thematically linked together. So I think that would be appropriate. We had probably the smallest quiz of the semester last week, quiz 6. I think just 10 or 11 questions. And so for quiz 7, we'll probably have our longest quiz of the semester. Now, quiz 8 will also be a short one because it's just focused on technology and information. And I think that'll be coming relatively quickly. However, the main thing that you have to complete for this semester, and I know this is coming to us kind of earlier than I anticipated. I think originally this was planned for the 23rd of this month, whereas what is it, the 11th? So yeah, we're way ahead of schedule, and that's a lesson for me to have learned, because I think that perhaps I pushed some of the scheduling a little bit too quickly, and that's kind of left us with a little less to do at the end of the semester. But it is what it is, folks, and we'll do the best that we can with the time that we have left. So to that end, let's go ahead and explore the rubric for this reflection essay so we can get a better handle on what exactly it is I'm asking you to do. I'm going to stop the PowerPoint here and share a different screen, that of the reflection essay. Okay, so you should still hear my voice, and you should still see some of the content that is being delivered. Now, the course reflection is going to be about the same level of content and importance as the initial self-assessment essay that we conducted at the beginning of this semester. It's going to be roughly 10% of your overall grade, and will be valued at about 25 points. Oops, this should say English 111. Made a mistake. I'm going to save that so I don't make that mistake in the future. So for the due date, you're going to have lots of time to work on this, and it's not a very long assignment. So that's why I said it's due on or before the 3rd of December. So that for us is the Thursday of that finals week, okay? Thursday of finals week. But like I said, I think a lot of you are going to take the next couple of weeks to generate that essay and complete that assignment way before the due date. But not everybody's schedule is the same. You may have another essay that you have to work on. I know, for example, several of you are in my Composition 2 class as well as being in this class. So you have another essay project that you're going to be working on. So this one might be something you can do either before that and get it out of the way, or you may want to take the extra time and focus on that essay and complete this one whenever you're finished. In terms of the length, it's about 300 words or more if you feel that you need to get an extra portion of the response completed. That's roughly equivalent to 1.5 pages. It's actually, I think 1.2 pages long. So if you think of a standard typewritten page in the standard format, that's roughly one whole page plus maybe a paragraph. But it's difficult to think about page length in terms of decimals. So when I say 1.5, that's why I have this tilde here. So it's about 1.5 pages, maybe a little less than a half. Okay. Speaking of the format, it is a typical MLA format for a humanities course like this one, meaning you're going to use a size 12 font with a Times New Roman theme. The body of the paper should be double spaced, meaning multiple paragraphs. Please don't make the mistake of putting 2 spaces between words like this. Don't do that. Don't create an extra space between words. That's not at all what double space means, okay? Double spaced is like this, okay? It's line, space, line. It's not between the words, it's between the lines of text. I wouldn't say that if I just didn't go through a frustrating paper that I graded where someone totally misunderstood but double spacing. Okay, the body of the paper should be double spaced. In the upper left-hand corner of the page, you do want to have one single spaced list with 4 lines of information, which should include your name, the name of the class. You can either call it English 111 or College Success Skills, or some combination of both. Your name, the name of the class, the name of the assignment, course reflection essay. Mr. Fowler, you're making all kinds of typos on this. All right, course reflection essay, and the date of the submission, which, like I said, on or before the 3rd. Beyond this, you should include a unique title that is neither bolded nor italicized and is centered and in plain text. Use the upper right-hand corner to include a page number. You may also include your last name, but it's not required. Okay, that's enough of the format. What is it I'm asking you to actually do? Well, as you can see here, the course reflection letter is going to consist of 3 elements. So there will be 3 essential paragraphs or 3 elements that you need to address in this essay response. A real short essay. Most essays have at least 5 paragraphs. And if you want to include an introduction and conclusion to sort of wrap things up and make it a more formal essay, you're welcome to do that, although just 3 paragraphs are all that will be required. In the first paragraph, you'll describe how you earned your current grade in English 111 so far. along with some of the reasons why you were in that grade. Now, in order to complete this component, you may wish to use the gradebook portion of the Desire to Learn course website to find out the most accurate necessary information. Then, briefly summarize why you earned the grades that you did. So if you go back up to this chart for a minute, and don't worry, we'll complete the other parts in just a moment. There are 5 elements that make up your overall grade, okay? The course reflection, which you will be writing for this assignment, and then the self-assessment essay, which you wrote near the beginning of the semester, the quizzes, which you completed with the utmost due diligence throughout the course of the semester, the discussions, 30% of your overall grade, and then your midterm quiz, which is weighted in equal measure with the other quizzes that you responded to in the middle portion of the semester. So those are the assignments that I would focus on: the self-assessment, the quizzes, the discussions, and then mention the midterm as well. Once you've completed that task, you can move on to the second paragraph, where you need to address the ideas that you brought up in your self-assessment essay. Remember that that essay asked you to predict some challenges that you thought you might face as the semester unfolded. So I want you to go back and think about what you thought would be difficult and compare that to your actual experience in the class. What challenges did you really face over the duration of the semester, and were the strategies that you'd planned to use effective in meeting those challenges? Lastly, for your final paragraph, you should reflect on some strategies that the textbook, College Success Skills by Nist Ojilnik and Holsuch, introduced. Were there strategies you were able to actually use during this semester? You were able to actually use. And I mean, yes, that actually helped and was effective. It really was a meaningful strategy that I could apply to things that were going on as the semester was unfolding. If that's not the case, then I would ask you to think about what, if any, of the ideas in the class were particularly interesting. That means they may have been interesting, if not exactly applicable to what you had to do in terms of your work of this semester. Now, if that is not relevant to your experience in the class, maybe it's time for Mr. Fowler to reevaluate how well he's conducting things. So even if that is the case, I do have a question that I think you could answer. And while it really doesn't behoove any student to attack a text in a mean-spirited way, if you were dissatisfied with the text, there's a way to think about how to do that, how to respond in a way that's critical, but also constructive. So lastly, if you were the editor of this book, of this textbook rather, what information would you include for college students? So what do you think would be valuable information for a College Success Skills Strategies course? Now, the purpose of the essay overall is to reflect on the hard work you've engaged in throughout the semester and to be more ready and able to apply the concepts and skills that you've mastered. So that's the key purpose of why you're writing this as a reflective essay at the end of the semester. I'm just going to save my changes here and stop sharing. The video is coming back up. There I am. Like I said, this essay kind of gives you an opportunity to think about this class and this text. Now, obviously, there are some things that, had we met in person, I could have done. I tried to create supplements and find content material to enhance this that made it more worthwhile for students. But once we really got beyond, the dynamics of, we have to take this, we have to complete this course, we have to do it online because of the conditions that we're currently meeting in, there wasn't a whole lot else I could find to enhance the process or to stimulate active learning. I've tried to do that. I offered there's a great suggestion at the beginning of the semester to host Q&A sessions. And I tried to do that on alternate days and afternoons, and I never really got too many takers on that process. So I just stopped offering them. But I still always offer students the opportunity to meet with me or schedule conferences. Just all you have to do is send me an email and we can set that up. I'd be happy to do it. I do have that 1 hour a day on Mondays and Wednesdays when I'm totally committed to a synchronous class that I have. That's from 11 to 12:15. I just can't work with anybody during those time parameters because I'm usually on with my other students. I'm on Zoom. But every other hour of the day or time is open to you. All you have to do is text me and set up an appointment. I did have one situation this semester where a student in my other asynchronous class, they did contact me when I was doing this, when I was recording a presentation for a class. And of course, I didn't get back to them right away because I was in the middle of recording a presentation. But that only happened one time over a 16-week period. So I think that's relatively negligible. Maybe your mileage on that idea varies. That's your right. But I think I've been relatively, on task and open and flexible with students this semester. Maybe you, like I said, you feel differently. This essay might provide time and space for you to address those feelings. But remember, if any writer is going to be successful at asking an audience to make a change or affect a different policy, if you just lambast the class, the professor, or the text, you're not going to get anywhere with that. The better route is to create a logical and feasible argument about how things could be improved for the better. So constructive criticism is what's going to win the day, I think. Okay, last reminders. Like I said, I hate to harp on this, but a lot of you have not yet completed quiz 6. So before I even put quiz 7 or 8 up there in the next couple of weeks, you really need to focus on quiz 6, drill down and complete that. Remember that that is over chapter 11. So check your PowerPoints and review that content before you take the quiz. At least do that so that you are prepared. Now you've got 2 hours to take the quiz and you can take it as many times as you want. So I don't think that should be an issue. One last word of praise before we end for today is this latest quiz, quiz 6, featured a short answer question. And you all did a fine job of that. So I would not be too surprised for quizzes 7 and 8 to see another short answer or perhaps even an extended written response portion for those quizzes. So we're moving ahead to bigger and better things as the semester continues to evolve. Okay, that's all for today's presentation. It's a little bit on the short side, but you know what? I think you can probably deal with that at this point in the semester. I do want to spend just a few seconds here to thank you for your time and your attention and praise your continued due diligence. And until next time, this is Mr. Fowler telling you to stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, keep thinking critically. Take care, everyone.